We have one of our favorite guests back here talking about one of my favorite shows on Showtime, City on a Hill. Season 3 is ready to roll, coming on the last day of this month, Sunday, July 31st, 10 p.m. Eastern on Showtime. One of the many things we'll be talking about with Kevin Bacon back here in studio. Good to see you, sir.
This is the nicest, most comfortable guest chair of any show that I...
Are you serious?
Yeah, I really love this chair.
No kidding.
I love the way it feels. I like the leather. It's got a good look. It brings out my eyes.
Well, it's yours to keep.
Thank you.
If you'd like it, you can travel with it if you'd like
Hey,
it.
pack this thing up, will you?
There you go. I love it. I love that you're comfortable. And I love that City on a Hill is back again, man. The way you play Jackie Roar is or Raw. I mean, how do I pronounce it really? I mean, how do you
Roar?
Roar. Okay, Jackie
Yeah.
Roar. Not the nicest guy, not the best guy, but one of the best anti-heroes that I've seen in quite some time. I can only imagine when you get the page in front of you and you see the language that they put in your mouth. It's kind of like
I refuse to do it.
No, but it must be like cutting into a nice piece of steak.
It's
right?
great. No, they write great stuff for this man. I mean, I always have. I never have a scene that I look at and go, I don't really have much to do here, you know. And in a series that we've done 3 seasons of, that's pretty unusual. I think that it's been a great testament to the writers that they give Jackie cool stuff to play.
Jackie Roar, your character's now in security, right? That's the way this is rolling right now?
Yeah, well,
ish?
Jackie, left the FBI at the end of, got dumped from the FBI at the end of season 2 and threw his badge in the Boston Harbor and swore that he would never be back. And you find them in this season sort of picking up some shifts, tending bar and make a couple of bucks, but basically sitting on his couch and watching cartoons all day. Mm-hmm. And his wife, played so well by Jill Hennessy, says, you got to get out of the house. I didn't like you being an FBI agent, but this is ridiculous. You're you're a waste of space right now. So this ex-FBI special agent in charge, who's played by Corbin Burnson, comes knocking on my door and says, "Listen, he's a very wealthy man, and he lives in Beacon Hill, and he needs some private security for his family. His daughter's a little bit out of control. So I get this job working in his house with his daughter and his new young wife, and things get very complicated very fast."
Well, this is not your first rodeo, obviously, not just even with this character, but playing somebody, from the Boston area and things of that nature. Who are you basing Jackie Roar on? Are you basing it on anybody?
Wow, it's interesting because sometimes I really have to dig deep into trying to figure out who a character is, and I definitely did that in after the fact with Jackie. Mm-hmm. But when I read the first scene in the first pilot those years ago when we started, I don't know, I just heard him. I saw the way he would move. I saw the way he would look, the wardrobe, the hair, the mustache, the whole thing. He just kind of came to me, and I don't really know. It's not anybody specific, but it is there's a. I think of it as the culture of Boston, and Philadelphia is a little bit like that. Where I grew up, which is it's a large East Coast city, but it really feels like a small town. And especially in Boston, there's always somebody. Somebody always knows a guy.
Yeah, right.
Oh, you need that? Yeah, I know a guy. And that's really the culture that Jackie comes from. He knows a guy, or sometimes he is the guy.
That's right. He knows a guy, or he is the guy.
Right.
I love that, and I love this show. I really do. The whole thing, from soup to nuts. You should start it at season 1. Obviously, if you're picking it up right now, City on a Hill. It premieres again Sunday, July 31st, 10 p.m. Eastern on Showtime. Are you watching any sports these days? You checking things out, or you're
I'm not
a Knicks fan any still? Is that
no.
thing?
I definitely was loving the basketball. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite as much of a baseball fan. I'm one of those sort of like come now is when I'll start.
Okay.
After the All-Star break is when I start to sort of like. Mm-hmm. Get into it. The thing that I really like about baseball, which is interesting, and I'm sure you guys talk about this all the time, is that it's probably the most theatrical of the sports in that there's these giant close-ups of internal human drama
Yes.
playing out as opposed to, you know, when you're watching Batman, the coverage is so great now that you do get close-ups, but basically, watching basketball is a little bit more of a, it's more of a dance, or it's more of a, if I'm tying it to theater, it's a little bit more like that. Whereas baseball is like, and
you're zooming in.
Yeah, just like what's going on inside people's minds, and that's what's really fun to me. But I was going to ask you about something.
Yes, Kevin.
And that is that, or anybody else that wants to chime in. I was thinking about the. I don't know if you saw the Adam Sandler sports movie that's on Hustle.
Yeah,
Hustle,
yeah.
right?
We had the actor who played the basketball player, Juancho Hernan-Gomez, in that seat just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So he's great. Mm-hmm. And what I'm thinking about is athletes as actors, athletes as performances. Have you guys ever done just talked about what are the best performances by professional athletes?
Oh, no doubt about it, right? Like, wouldn't you say
Ray Allen and He Got Game?
Ray Allen and He Got Game was terrific.
Yep. How about Kevin Garnett in Uncut Gems? Have you seen that?
Yes.
Also with Sandler.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Sandler's good at turning basketball players into actors right now.
I thought Kenny Smith was amazing also in the
as the agent.
As the agent. Yeah. And that's different because you're playing not a not a athlete. So anyway,
I'm trying to think who else.
Are we counting The Rock in this?
The Rock
as a
I don't know about that. We're talking about somebody who's like an actual professional athlete. LeBron in Trainwreck was hilarious.
Okay, well that's a little controversial what we just heard right there. You don't think
The
Rock was an actual professional athlete?
As a wrestling fan, I take
wrestlers are professional athletes.
offense to this.
Come on now. I mean, but all right. Did I just really
he also was a football player. He played in the CFL.
That's right. He was a football player.
Yeah, but The Rock was not like. You're talking about Ray Allen. Ray Allen was.
Okay, yeah.
You mean like active, kind of?
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yes, like an active. I don't. Do you think of The Rock as an athlete turned actor now? I don't think about
of
that.
wrestlers as athletes for sure.
I do actually, but.
Okay.
I once got this. This was a big moment for me.
Okay.
Every once in a while, you get mistaken for somebody else, and within the course of about 2 weeks, I got mistaken as MacGyver.
Richard Dean Anderson.
Yeah, we're going back a few years. But somebody said, "Aren't you MacGyver?" I was like, "No." But then, right on the heels of that, I got mistaken as Hunter.
Oh, Fred Dryer? Fred Dryer?
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Bon Jovi. I can see someone mistaking you for Bon Jovi.
Well, no, I was trying to stay on the sports thing.
Well, he's been mistaken for Bon Jovi.
Definitely been mistaken for Bon Jovi. But I just thought, I don't know, man. That I was kind of like, yeah, you think? Am I getting a little too big? Is it
Fred Dryer?
You were shredded in that clip
my
that
neck?
we saw.
Do I have that kind of a neck?
No.
All right.
No,
okay. I was digging it.
I'm just kind of I'm still like reeling. Like, did I really just offend The Rock?
No. He'll get over it.
You offended me.
He's okay.
Is there any other sports? Like,
I mean, does Carl Weathers count?
Does Jim Brown count?
Oh yeah, Jim Brown.
Terry Crews?
Well, Jim. Reggie Jackson in The Naked Gun, killing the Queen, threatening to kill the Queen.
Arnold might get a little upset.
Kyrie and Uncle Drew?
I don't know.
What was Kyrie in?
Uncle Drew.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. Okay. I like it, though. Good question.
Terry Bradshaw.
Terry Bradshaw. You said Terry Bradshaw and Cannonball Run. Is that where you're going with on that one?
Yeah, I mean,
is he in that one?
He's been in movies.
A couple.
Howie Long, yeah.
Burt Reynolds count? He played at Florida State.
Yeah, Burt Reynolds played. Yeah.
So you just opened a whole can of worms.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell played minor league baseball.
Did you ever play anything?
No.
You were never.
No, I'm a terrible athlete. I think I've told you this story before.
Basketball movie, Kevin? Yeah.
I told you this story. I made a much inferior movie to Hustle, where I played a coach who was scouting basketball players in Africa, and I have to play in the movie. And our technical advisor, who was with me all the time while we were shooting the movie, is the beloved Bob McAdoo. And Bob once in an interview said, the hardest thing he ever had to do in his entire career was make Kevin Bacon look like a basketball player. So that was a real badge of honor for me.
Bob McAdoo's toughest thing he's ever had to do.
We're talking the air up there.
My gosh.
Right.
I wish I had that movie poster.
Funny.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, we've done this before with you, but since you've got such a vast filmography and television career, we've come up with yet more celebrity true or false items for you, where things you have said things or things have been said about your career that we need to know if they're true or false. Okay. Here we go. We've got a drop for it. Hit it. Hit it.
Celebrity true or false?
You can't handle the truth.
Well, you're familiar with that scene as well from that drop, I think, right there. Okay, very good.
Good drop.
First up for Kevin Bacon, celebrity true or false? True or false? You spent the money you made from your first movie within a week.
Yes.
That is a true story.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this was Animal House?
Animal House, yeah. Yeah, that to be brought 77, maybe 78, something like that.
And how much did you make from Animal House?
You know, maybe $2,000, $3,000, something like that.
$2,000, $3,000.
Yeah.
And you spent it within a week.
And and back then I didn't even have an agent, so I didn't have to pay 10%.
So it's the full thing.
Listen, I was living large, man, and I spent it and had to go with my tail between my legs and back to my job as a waiter.
What'd you spend it on? Do you remember?
Well, I don't know. Do we have to get into that? It was the 70s, you know. Yeah. Look it up.
Platform shoes?
Platform shoes.
Okay.
That was it. A new pair of roller disco skates.
$2,000 in 78 is pretty nice, right?
Wow.
Yeah. Listen. Yes, it was. It was big. It was big money for me.
Well, you're hanging with Belushi, so I guess okay. Very good. Next up, true or false? Kevin Bacon. To prepare for your role in Footloose, you attended classes at a high school in Utah at the age of 24, pretending to be a transfer student from Philadelphia. Is that true?
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
What the hell? Really?
You know, I have always been somebody that, to the extent that I can, likes to do a ride along. You know, we call that a ride along. Like when you're playing a cop, you know, you'll go out on a run. Mm-hmm. That's probably like the silliest ride along in history. But I had doubts about being able to pull off at 24, you know, being a 17-year-old kid. And I felt like maybe I needed to just experience what that was like, as well as experience what it would be. I grew up in Philadelphia, went to school in Philadelphia, so my parents didn't move around. I never had to move into a new place or a new town, not until I moved to New York to become an actor. So to be a fish out of water and to see what it would be like to thrown into a culturally different sort of place I felt important.
So how deep did you get? Like, did you literally have a full day of classes?
A full day of classes, yeah. And the only people that knew were the principal. The principal was the only one. Like, none of the teachers knew. So the teachers were actually super annoyed that I was coming in the middle of the year, you know, and they definitely had a, you know, who are you, big shot city kid, you know, kind of thing. But it was a lot of stuff that actually related a lot to what I actually had to go through in the movie, and I actually learned a lot from doing it.
Like,
you know,
like actual academics? Did you take
no,
tests?
Not actually. No.
Did you have to do the work?
No, not the academics. Just the attitude. You know, I had this. I'll give you an example. I had an attitude that there was a shot of me coming into the school and walking in the first day, and I had an attitude that having been raised in the big city on the East Coast, as the character was, that I would be sort of, you know, badass, kind of, you know, strolling down the hall. You know, hey, you know, go ahead and get your best shot. When I actually got into that situation, I was so terrified that I was like walking down the hall and just keeping my head down, you know what I mean, and trying to, you know, not get my ass kicked, basically, and you know, going into the bathroom and these big, you know, corn-fed dudes would come in and, you know, sort of start hassling me. And that's not something that I really expected, and so I adjusted the performance in the movie to reflect more of that.
How about that? When was the last time you held an LP version of the Footloose soundtrack?
I'd say about I signed one about 2 days ago.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, here's another one.
Oh, nice.
There's that one. These are yours, Mike Del
Yeah,
Tufo?
that's actually from my collection.
There you go. And
When I
then,
was a
when was the
DJ.
last time? We need the Walkman.
Oh, and here's the Walkman, right?
By the way, and here's a picture disc version. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Those are
When
like
was the last time you held a picture
Well,
disc version
that's
of these?
been a while. What is a picture disc?
Mike, what is a picture disc?
it has the picture of the album on the actual LP itself, which is amazing.
But this doesn't play the movie.
Yes.
Oh, it
No,
does play.
No, that's the
not- I
actual
do have
album.
it.
But that
I
would be
do have the
that would be
laser
Laserdisc,
I
right?
actually do have the laser disc of that because it's
The
on the top.
Laserdisc.
I
Right.
love that and Saturday Night Fever are my two favorite soundtracks ever.
Oh yeah, it was a good
As a DJ.
soundtrack
I mean,
for
the
sure.
soundtrack's amazing.
Have you ever met Kenny Loggins?
Oh yeah. I've done the song with him. Yeah,
When?
yeah. We we were at a benefit or something like that, and our paths have crossed a number of times.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Here, I'll take those back. You might be requested to.
Oh, okay.
Sign those later on.
Happy to do it.
Okay. Next one. Celebrity True or False with Kevin Bacon. True or false? While filming Apollo 13, scenes in the zero-gravity plane could only occur in 25-second bursts, so the plane performed 612 dives. Is that true or false?
That's true. Yeah, they're called parabolas. It's really the only way to duplicate zero gravity on Earth. And basically what you do is you fly out over the Gulf of Mexico and from Houston, from where they were leaving from NASA, and you go straight up, and then you dive, and during the dive, the centrifugal force and the gravitational pull balance out for 25 seconds. So we did it just as a sort of research thing, and then ride along type thing.
Yes.
And then Ron Howard, who directed the film, was having a conversation with Steven Spielberg, who he was talking to about the movie and stuff. And Spielberg suggested that we build the sets up there and actually use the zero gravity. So Ron was able to convince NASA to let us do it. And myself and Bill Paxton and Tom Hanks and I went up and did 612. You say, I guess.
Which one of you three was able to handle it the best? Do you think?
Well, I can tell you that they gave us some pretty serious anti-nausea drugs, and it was a combination of drugs because the serious anti-nausea drug was was such a downer that basically you just would want to sleep through the whole flight. So in order to combat that, you had to take some kind of speed.
Wow.
So we'd take them both at the same time, and then you'd kind of wait to see which one was going to kick in first. And one day, both Tom and Bill, if I remember correctly, decided to go a little bit cowboy and not take them. And they were not doing well. Now,
They went cold turkey. They just went straight
they decided
up with nothing?
to and I was having none of it. And I was like, yeah, better living through chemistry. I never puked. I did have some moments of nausea, but it really is a question of whether or not you are prone to car sickness or boat sickness or whatever it is. Some people are more prone to it. And I remember there was a guy who was a big guy, kind of football player type guy, grip, and he came up with us on the first run and never went up again. He just was completely incapacitated, just puking after puke after puke after puke. They give you a thing, they call it an airman's corsage. You have to, aside from our wardrobe, our costumes, everybody else had to be in jumpsuits and jack boots, to that was just the deal. And so you take the vomit bags and you have these kind of like pockets up here, and you stick them down in with the top open, kind of billowing out like a corsage, so that at any given moment you could just take it out. You could just take it, reach it right out. And a lot of people were doing that.
So this is the real deal. Like you went through the real deal because Spielberg told Ron Howard that you should put him through the real deal.
Yeah, Spielberg told Ron, and Ron told us.
And
then I told my wife, and my wife said, "Are you out of your mind? You're going to go up in that thing every day." And then there was a problem with the plane, and then the plane got grounded, and then we had to go back to it. So it ended up being a lot of work.
Incredible. Last one for you. I guess this is going to be true since you talked about the ride-alongs here. You spent some time at Quantico preparing for your role as Captain Jack Ross in A Few Good Men.
Yeah, I did. I did.
What was that like?
Well, great. Listen, I think I've played, strangely, 3 or 4 Marines. And I think that's might be the only branch of the military that I've ever done, which is just Marines. I like to say that I could make it through about 5 minutes of boot camp. I mean, I would be like, get me out of here. But I really felt a need to, in every instance, to try to be as believable as I would at one character as I would be at Jackie Rohr, for instance. And Marines, they do have something that's like very specific about them in the way that they move, in the way that they engage, in the way that their attention to detail, for instance, on the uniform and in protocol and this sort of brothership that you hear a lot about. And so to get a sense of that and to basically be with Marines is like the best way to play one, I think. So I spent some time at Quantico.
So you spent some time there.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you see, I imagine at some point, if you are watching television and flipping around, A Few Good Men will pop up. It seems like it's got to be playing right now somewhere. When you see the final scene, what do you think of when you see the final scene?
What I think of in that final scene is how, I've gotten an opportunity to work with a lot of great actors over the years, and Jack Nicholson definitely one of the greats, one of my heroes before I ever, was able to be in a scene with him. And it was so inspiring because we shot that scene with him doing that speech, and everybody was like, holy, this is going to be so good. And this is, he's just crushing it. But what people don't understand sometimes about shooting a film is that it's multiple takes of multiple angles. And so that's a whole day of him doing that speech. And after we've shot all of his coverage, meaning the stuff that's on him, you then have to turn around and you have to shoot Tom reacting and me reacting and me reacting and the jury reacting and, all these other things. And all day long, he just kept bringing it and bringing it and bringing it. And it was really just cool. And it makes you go, the great actors know that the scene is about everybody in the scene, and to deliver that kind of stuff for somebody off camera was just great to watch.
Yeah, I imagine it had to have been just amazing, because there would be times where I guess you're not on camera and they're doing either him or somebody else. You would just be sitting there like everybody else, just staring at it, right?
Yeah.
I mean that.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Before I let you go, let's talk about 6degrees.org, your charity. What's the latest going on with that?
We have kind of a fun thing that we are just kind of putting together now, which has to do with Philadelphia. It's kind of based on a tune that I wrote about Philly. It's called The Philly Thing, and a lot of what 6 Degrees does is we find good people who are doing great work down on the ground in grassroots organizations that maybe don't get the kind of exposure that the bigger kind of charities do. And so we found this really cool group in Philly called Rock to the Future, which is providing instruments and instrument lessons and recording situations for underserved kids in the Philadelphia area. And we kind of constructed this song to have them play on it and bring some exposure to Rock to the Future. So we're going to be dropping that sometime in the next few months. And,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And I guess that leads to one extra true or false in terms of 6 Degrees. Is it true or false that you're a distant relative to Robert Redford, Mark Hamill, and Richard Nixon?
I don't know. I've heard the Richard Nixon one.
Really?
But yeah. I did that Finding Your Roots thing with Henry Louis Gates, and I think that the cousin thing is distant relative. I mean, it's not that hard to be a distant relative to pretty much anybody. I mean,
well, you are Kevin Bacon.
Well, what we found out was that my wife and I are cousins. So there you go.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a reveal. That's a big
reveal.
reveal.
Yeah.
So the Redford and Hamill, the
I would-
Robert Redford and
I'll
Mark
take
Hamill.
it. Listen, I'll take it. You know, whatever.
fantastic. Okay. There you go. You have the force. They/Them as well is coming right here on Peacock starting August 5th. You are in this this film. It's a horror movie, huh?
It's a horror movie set in a gay conversion camp. It's a very, very cool idea.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a scary movie, and I play the head of this camp.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, part of the horror of the movie is that this even exists, that people think that this is even an option in
Right.
terms of trying to change someone's way of life with, words or mind control or whatever it is. But it's also like a really kind of empowering film for LGBTQ youth, and I think people are going to get a big kick out of it. It will not be without controversy, which is awesome. And it also is a little bit of a nod to a world that I came from in some ways, because one of my first movies was Friday the 13th, which was a horror movie set in a camp. And now the tables have turned, and it's my camp. So
Look at that. Fantastic. And that's on August the 5th. That is a Friday, August the 5th, a different Friday with a different meeting. They/Them on Peacock, August 5th. And on July 31st, the return of City on a Hill for season number 3. You are welcome here anytime, sir, as you know.
always great to be here.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
All right,
you.
thanks very much. Right here on the Rich Eisen Show, the great Kevin Bacon will be wrapping this show when we come back. Send you to the weekend in a sec.